Get 'em.
Welcome, folks. Y'all come on in and make yourself at home. This here, well, this is the Rolling Thunder Podcast, your home for all things Rolling Thunder. This episode is brought to you by Mossy Oak, because everything is better in Bottomland. Kent Cartridge, quality matters, performance counts. Shen Gear, waterfowl gear that is built better. And Benelli USA, dominate the skies.
Alrighty, welcome to this episode of the Rolling Thunder Podcast. Man, this afternoon, we are sitting at Float Road Duck Camp, sitting here with some new friends. Fellas, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
My name is Stewart.
I'm Blakley Cobb.
Hey, nice to meet you, fellas. I mean, we've talked a little bit before this, but this is really our first sit-down. If you don't know, this is some of the masterminds behind the public timber project you might have seen on social media. I think they're doing some really cool work and some bright things ahead of them. And so I reached out to them on social media and asked if they'd be willing to carve out a few minutes of an afternoon and sit and talk with us. And here we are. So, fellas, how's hunting season been so far?
Great. Thanks for having us. We need all the help we can get. We appreciate it.
Yeah. It's been good some days, but some days it's a little bit slower than others. But I mean, get them while you can.
Hey, that's hunting, ain't it?
Yeah.
If it was always easy, I guess everybody'd do it. But
Right.
Man, so why don't let's just open this up. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. And we can talk to you guys and duck hunting, and then we'll kind of get into the project a little bit.
You bet. I'm a retired Forest Service firefighter. I fought wildfires out west all over the country for the Forest Service for many, many years. Sort of a dream job for anyone who loves to hunt and fish. For most of my career, it was a seasonal job, fight fires all summer and kind of get laid off for hunting season. And it's a 20-year retirement. If anybody's interested in a 20-year career in the outdoors, so you can duck hunt a bunch in your late 40s, look to fight fires because it's a good one. So I retired a couple years ago, and duck hunting has just kind of been my main passion throughout my life. And since I've retired, I've had the luxury of hunting pretty much every day of the season. I hunt 5-6 days a week, typically. Typically take Saturdays off to hang out with my wife and friends and whatever. And I do almost all of that on public land here in Arkansas. So I kind of get to be the old guy at the boat ramp that's out there every day, which is a pretty awesome privilege to have. And, yeah, that's kind of my background, getting into it here in Arkansas. Blakley?
Yeah. So I'm just a insurance man. I live in Arkansas, and with the new job, I'm not getting to hunt as much this year, but I'm what you call a weekend warrior. But I'm bit by the bug bad. I love duck hunting, and just something that I try to get out there every opportunity I can, and just want to try to make it better if at all possible. So
Heck yeah, I think deep down, I mean, that's all of our desires to make this thing at least a little bit better. Some folks may be a little bit more self-centered in that purpose, but we all want to leave this thing better than we found it. So, I mean, going back to you, like growing up, were you all public land duck hunters? Like, have you cut your teeth on it, or?
Yeah, I've spent my whole life hunting public. I grew up real poor, and I like real poor, like, shameful poor,
Yeah.
And so, I grew up where deer meat and duck meat and fish, and that's what we ate. And my dad, my uncles, they were probably more on like the outlaw side of hunting and fishing,
Okay.
But I kind of grew up with that perspective on the outdoors, and also grew up in a household that trapped. My dad trapped, and I grew up trapping, and that used to be a big part of all this and back in the day, and so I think I grew up with a real strong. At the time, you really didn't think about us as like, we didn't call ourselves public land hunters. You were just poor, and we hunted and fished. So of course you hunted public,
Sure.
Or back in the day when you could actually get permission to hunt private for free just because you knocked on a farmer's door. That was still possible somewhat. But I definitely grew up with, I think, a different kind of hero and role model in the outdoors than I see out there today. I think all the guys that I grew up idolizing, one, they all trapped. And anyone who's dedicated to trapping, like all those guys also duck hunted too and deer hunted and fished, and they were just master woodsmen basically in my mind. They were just super knowledgeable and good in the woods, and it wasn't focused on like fancy gear and fancy trucks and fancy boats. And I mean, I think growing up, most of the guys that taught me how to hunt and fish, when I first started wearing camo, like I got teased for being a pretty boy, like thinking I was fancy or pretty or like better than everybody because they were the Levi 501s t-shirt crowd of, cigarette in their lips kind of duck hunters.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I come up cutting my teeth and just caught the bug. I mean, I was super young when duck hunting took over my mind and heart, and all through high school. I mean, I grew up hunting with my dad and some of his buddies, my uncles. And then by the time I was probably a sophomore in high school, we had our own little crew, and we were working our summer jobs to buy our own decoy spreads and saving up for cool guns and, blowing our calls all year. And we were just doing the thing, that everybody does. And that's kind of the way it's been. I mean, I'm in my late 40s now, and it hasn't gotten any better. It's just gotten worse throughout the years. The whole, I don't know if you call it an addiction or an obsession. It's just a passion, for this whole thing.
So, I mean, you can be as specific or as ambiguous as you want to be. So, like, the public woods that you grew up hunting, like, do you still hunt those same woods, or have you kind of moved around? What was
Oh, no, I've moved around a lot, and we moved around all over the Midwest growing up. So, okay. My family's originally a Northeast Arkansas family. My whole family's from Paragould and Walnut Ridge, and I still got a lot of family in the state, all around the state of Arkansas. But we moved quite a lot. My dad chasing jobs, working for turkey hatcheries. We moved, and we lived in Missouri, and we lived in Iowa. And, the one thing all those places have in common, moving up the flyway, was duck hunting and goose hunting. And so as we moved, I just, as a kid, I just adapted to whatever environment we had. But we were always poor. We were always hunting public for the most part, And just made it as a life goal to eventually have my career lead us back here to Arkansas so I could spend the rest of my life hunting timber here.
Blakley, what about you? Give us a little bit of the Blakley story.
Yeah, so I'm somewhat of a newbie. Nobody in my family really duck hunts. My dad didn't duck hunt. We were all just kind of deer hunters, and my dad taught me how to hit a golf ball. So that's pretty much, how it went. I've been doing this, me and my buddies, we just decided to go probably, 4 years ago, and that's when it just hit me. So, something that us as Public Timber Project is trying to adopt, is making this more welcoming to people, and maybe adopting a little bit of some mentorship, putting the right information out there, and maybe not as intimidating, making it an intimidating sport, and the mentorship, teaching people how to do things the right way. That's something that I didn't have, but, I've had to, trial and error, teach myself and listen when people are telling me, trying to teach me things and trying to adopt those and put them into place. So I'm trying, my main thing would be, just having, putting myself where I was, 4 years ago and trying to get into this and start out on a better foot than I did, because I've overcalled ducks. I've, done things wrong in the woods, but now that I've learned those, I want to make it easier for people to have access to that information. So,
tell us about your first duck hunt.
Yeah, so it was actually me and my buddy. I had the opportunity to play college basketball. I was home for Christmas break, and me and some buddies were hanging out one night, and they goose hunt Canadian goose hunt a lot, and we got to go. I got to go with them, and I think we shot like 4 mallards and 4 Canadians on a farm pond in West Arkansas. But that was a super cool experience. But nothing beats that first experience that I got to have in the timber. We went in the timber not knowing a clue of what we were doing. We shot 4 ducks and thought we were kings. You know? And so that is just super cool. I mean, just being out there and having the opportunity to go and experience and just seeing the flooded trees, really. I mean, watching ducks and it's just super, super, super neat.
Yeah, I've talked about it on the podcast before, but I didn't grow up duck hunting, so I'm an adult onset duck hunter. My wife still thinks that I bait and switched her a little bit because when we started dating, even we got married in March. I didn't duck hunt. When my first trip was that winter after we got married. I went with a buddy, so I was 21 years old, and I mean, there was just three of us. We were all roughly the same age. Went to a big lake in North Alabama and shot a couple ducks, and I was hooked from that moment on. And so I've done the majority of my waterfowl hunting has been on public land. I mean, I've had the privilege of traveling to a few different states. We lived in Tennessee for a few years and hunted the public there. I lived in Florida for a few years, hunted the public here or down there, and we drive over from Alabama and hunt public here in Arkansas a pretty good bit. And one thing we kind of talked about before we started rolling is like I've noticed that the conversation around public land hunting seems to be extremely negative. Everybody likes to kind of bring up the problems that they're experiencing or maybe they've seen, and not to knock on anybody's experience because that's a real thing. But people talk about the quality of hunting or the amount of people that are there. It seems like everybody's trying to discourage more people from coming to their spot. There's complaints on whether or not an agency's managing something the right way. But regardless of what the complaint is, it seems like they're always loud, and then those complaints just kind of toilet bowl the conversation, and you kind of end up being like, well, public land sucks, But right. I think all of us would disagree.
Well,
I
mean, I'll jump in. Again, I'm pretty blessed that I chose a career path that let me retire relatively young, and so I'd be hard pressed to love somebody to call in and write in, comment if they hunt public more days a year than I do. But I'm the fat old guy at the boat ramp, like Monday through Friday, every week of the season. And I don't think it sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's the coolest thing in the world. I've got millions of acres of some of the most beautiful, amazing country to chase ducks and find ducks, and it ain't always easy, but that's the great adventure.
Yeah.
I'd be bored sitting in the same blind all year on my little private piece of property. That sounds like death to me. I want to get skunked and then go back to the drawing board, hunt them down and find them someplace else. And, if a river doesn't have water, go find the place that does have water. That whole adventure is, to me, just the best thing in the world. So I don't think it sucks at all. But, yeah, we've got a community right now of public land duck hunters that, well, we're not a community, and that's part of the problem. We've got a whole lot of folks that are really passionate about hunting public, and we all are coming back to our duck camps and our homes every night, and we're complaining about all the things that you mentioned a second ago. What we don't have is anybody springing into action to change it.
Yeah.
And so you kind of said it here. We've got a couple of problems. One is, obviously, there's two sides to the public land problem, right? One is the management agencies, AGFC, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. There's a bunch of partners, the land managers themselves, and I don't know anyone who hunts public that doesn't have a gripe or a grievance or a complaint. And for the most part, we've spent 40, 50 years in this state complaining about management, and with that, we've got a lot of individuals who have sprung into action. There's a lot of really smart, concerned, intelligent folks that have written letters, sent in emails, gone to the public town meetings and asked questions and engaged as much as they can. And for the most part, those folks across the state feel just like they haven't gotten anywhere. Like a lot of them feel like, well, what's the point? Like all my emails I send, all the letters I write, like they're not really getting anywhere with it. So that's one problem, right? That we've been tackling the issue as a bunch of individuals and not as a unified, solidified group with one voice. And so that's one part of the picture. The other part of it is there's a lot of issues on public land that isn't AGFC's problem at all. It's not their fault. It's our problem. Duck hunters were also our own worst enemies. And so that's another thing we'd like to get some momentum behind us and help start a movement on public land with how we duck hunt, because we're half the problem. The agencies are part of it, and we're the other part of it. And so that's an easy one because we can fix us. Yeah. Like we can start a movement among duck hunters to behave a little different. And we're not talking about shaming folks or changing everything we do, but just making some small incremental changes would make a world of difference. And So, but how do you do that? Like, how do you start a movement among public land duck hunters? How do you get a bunch of rednecks running their boats up and down the river in the woods to change? How do we change culture? How do we cause a shift? So the only idea we had right off the bat was, well, let's lead by example and let's start doing cleanups, because it starts right at the boat ramp, right? Like, if we can't keep our boat ramps clean, we can't take care of that piece of public land, then how can we even begin to have a conversation about what happens in the woods once we leave the boat ramp? So we started this idea, well, let's start going to boat ramps and doing cleanups. And those of us that started this thing originally, there was 3 of us that kind of started it. Blakley came on after that. We kind of made a point where we're going to clean up boat ramps, and we're going to make sure we don't clean up the boat ramps we hunt. We want to go to other places in the state where we know the boat ramps are probably trashed, and do pickups and try to get people to come out and help us and have some conversations about, hey, what are the issues that you guys are struggling with right here, right at this little area where you hunt, and see what kind of discussions and where that could all lead us. And that's kind of where we're at now. We just started this last season doing cleanup projects. We started down in Clarendon. We've done half a dozen now, and we're just gaining momentum. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But, we'd love to think that if we could get guys to start picking up their garbage at the boat ramp and having a little pride, because that's like, like as far as I'm concerned, these places we duck hunt, these are sacred places to me. They're like church to me, You wait all year to go in these places. And to see folks, in my mind, kind of being disrespectful of the land and the resources that we do have. This AGFC has given us a lot. They've given us the boat ramps alone.
Yeah.
Like we're lucky to have the boat ramps we have in the state, like just as a resource. Let's start taking care of them. And maybe in that movement we could solidify the public timber duck hunting community a little bit, and then we could tackle some bigger issues down the road. How cool would that be?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at right now, just organizing some boat ramp cleanups. And that concept kind of led us down a different path than we thought we would have initially. We thought we were going to maybe get more into education, and we could maybe highlight issues that wasn't getting attention, that hunters in different unique areas around the state are seeing, problems they're seeing that the rest of us don't know about. We could, guys that hunt the Black River could come hunt the guys that hunt the Cache River, and they could come down and hunt the guys outside of Stuttgart and help those guys. We could start pitching in and helping each other out with problems a little bit more. And but as we started cleaning up the boat ramps, it kind of became really clear what our purpose might be here in the state and how we might initially start helping out. And I tell you, the garbage that we're leaving behind at the boat ramps it's significant.
Yeah.
It's kind of shocking, and it's funny because you just go to the boat ramp to go hunting, and you launch your boat, and you let your dog out to take a leak, and you jump in your boat and you take off. You don't really notice it. Definitely coming back midday when you get back after your hunt, you're just like wanting to get to town and eat lunch and warm up, and I think we're a little bit oblivious to, all the Red Bull cans and the chew cans and all the stuff that we're throwing on the ground right by the boat ramp. And when you get out there with the trash bag and start picking them up, and you're an old fart like me with a bad back, and you're bending over to pick everything up, you're like, holy Toledo.
Yeah. I was going to say, and to be fair to some of the public land guys, some of these ramps are multi-use spaces, and there's some non-duck hunters that use them.
Oh, for sure.
However, you can see, like, when you're picking up, shotgun shell boxes or it's like
most of it's us.
Yeah. It's
we
can't deny that duck hunters aren't playing.
There's definitely high school kids coming to the boat ramp on Friday nights and partying and leaving garbage. Of course, that's happening. Of course, there's cat fishermen and crappie fishermen going out there and leaving their stuff out there. But me and my dad did a cleanup here, not far from our camp right here a couple weeks ago. Duck season had already started. We cleaned that boat ramp. No one has used that boat ramp except for duck hunters, right? Like if we clean up, it'd be fair to say if we clean up a boat ramp today and I come look at that boat ramp a week from now, that's duck hunters.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's pretty
sure.
safe. So I was there a week later, and that boat ramp had already kind of gotten trashed. Like there was significant amount of trash there, and we had just done a big cleanup project the week before. So, we all share in the impact we're having on these areas, but this is us.
Yeah.
This is some stuff that we can clean up ourselves. This is like our side of the fence stuff. Low-hanging fruit, what we refer to. This is low-hanging fruit in terms of making a difference and making things
some
better.
easy ways
This is simple.
and obtainable ways to make a difference.
Yeah, this isn't a complicated thing. We fix this. What else could we fix next?
Yeah. This is not trying to redo a levee structure somewhere and needing topo maps and no. This is simple, and anybody can hop on board and be a part.
Exactly. So we just, this last weekend, was it last weekend, Blakley? We went up on the Dave Donaldson. We cleaned up 3 boat ramps up there, and it was an awesome day, a great cleanup. We got a bunch of awesome just an outpouring of public support up there, local hunters that came out and pitched in and helped out and got on board with the project for the future. They were grateful. It was neat for me because I don't hunt up there, and so it's cool to go up there, a place where my family's originally from, and meet folks and feel connected to the duck hunting community up there. And opening weekend at Dave Donaldson, like everybody knows, was impressive this year for whatever reason, and we can get into it. Like, for whatever reason, everybody got the message that was apparently the spot to be on opener. And I've heard reports of up to 1,000 trucks and trailers on the Black on opening weekend. What'd you say that the line of trucks was 1.6 miles backed up from the boat ramp?
Yeah, we were up there opening weekend. My buddy, he was having boat problems. We were already on the river, and so he's like, "Hey, somebody's gonna have to come get me." So I run back up to the ramp, and so I'm calling him. I'm like, "Hey, I'm up here," and he said, "Hey, I'm trying to get there, but I'm stuck in the line of trucks. I'm trying to turn around and park." And he had to park. I mean, it was near 3/4 of a mile away, and then walk all the way to the boat ramp. And there were some boys that took them 2 hours to try to get their truck and trailer to try to leave at the end of the hunt, and it was something.
Right. So that's a lot of duck hunters, and I think that's awesome that there's that many people that are passionate about. Like, I get what a challenge that would be if you're local up there and you wanted to go hunt that boat ramp, and there was that many people that showed up. But on another level, how cool is it that many people value Dave Donaldson? People think this is a really cool, beautiful, amazing piece of public land that they want to go enjoy. But that many folks were camped out for a week in many cases. Do you think any of those folks are going to pull out a line and lose their spot to go to town, to go to the bathroom? Like, people are in their spot and they're holding their spot, right? Like, that's the whole point. Like, you get in line, you want to hold your spot to be next in line to launch your boat. Where are they throwing their garbage? Where are these folks going to the bathroom? When we see folks routinely in this state spending the night at the boat ramp. Guys always spend the night at the boat ramp to get their spot the next morning. Where are they going to the bathroom? What are they doing with all their garbage? I mean, we're all the same. We're all a bunch of gross pigs with how we eat during duck season. You get the Sonic burger in the gas station, and you get gosh knows what. You fill your truck full of junk food, and then you stuff your face, and you pass out in your front seat, and you wake up about 2 a.m. and drink some bad coffee and start getting ready, and you're going to go to the restroom someplace. And so we started doing these cleanups. I mean, the garbage was easy, but you start looking back in the woods, and you're realizing, like, hey, Dave Donaldson not only had 1,000 trucks in line, but they had 1,000 guys all go back in the woods and go poop.
Yeah.
And that's like the light bulb went off for me, at least for us. We're like, we need to help out with this because this is us. Like, this is duck hunters are having a negative impact on a place that we love.
Yeah.
Right. If we didn't love it, we wouldn't be there. So how can we do a better job? So, we're already transitioning now from trying to organize boat ramp cleanups to porta potties and trash disposal at the busy boat ramps.
Oh,
that's our goal for this next year, is trying to figure out how to get enough public support. I know that there's going to be support out there with the outfitters and the gun shops and Ducks Unlimited and Delta and everybody else to help out with this issue. But this is, again, one of these low-hanging fruit projects that we can take on, like just us regular, nobody, public land duck hunting folks. We can get on board and rally and put porta potties and some dumpsters up at the busy boat ramps, and we can manage our impact for the few months of duck season here and leave these places in good shape when we get done hunting and pull out, instead of leaving a boat ramp that's now trashed for the fisherman that shows up and goes crappie fishing the week after duck hunting season, and they were dealing with months full of, toilet paper and Little Debbie wrappers in the woods, right?
Yeah.
So that's not to shame us, that we don't have currently at a lot of our busy boat ramps. We don't have facilities. We don't have dumpsters.
Yeah, which is fair to be able to say that. Like, they don't exist. Like, the infrastructure isn't there.
And so I think historically what we tend to do, public land duck hunters, we'd complain and say, well, it's the state's fault. They didn't give it to us. If they didn't like it, they ought to give us a porta potty.
Yeah.
But I just think that's crap. I think, well, this is something we can do ourselves.
Yeah.
And this is part of our waterfowling tradition that we do for ourselves. Like the Waterfowl Act was passed by Congress because a bunch of duck hunters didn't want to see all the ducks disappear. And like regular duck hunters got organized and pushed hard enough and got enough momentum and political support that Congress passed an act to protect waterfowl, migratory birds. And that was signed on by Canada and Mexico. Like we saved waterfowl from becoming basically extinct from market hunting by us not waiting for the government to fix it for us by doing it ourselves. Most of these places we hunt in this state, Dave Donaldson, Rex Hancock Black Swamp, and you name it, go all across the state, all the places that we love so much, those places were on the edge of disappearing. The government didn't save them. The government didn't fix those problems. Duck hunters did. Like just regular public land duck hunters said, nope, we don't want these places to be drained and trashed. We value these folks. We're going to fight for them. So in that tradition, that's what we're trying to do again here. Like, hey, we've got some problems around here. We can sit around and complain and wait for the state or the government to fix it, or we can just do it ourselves. It's not going to be that hard to do, but we need to garner some support to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you said some good stuff there. The way you phrase it, like, the easy thing to do is say, like, talking about trash cans or, bathroom facilities, be like, well, they, if they wanted me to have it, they should give it to me. Like, I'm owed that. And it seems like that kind of, that sense of entitlement maybe might be just kind of running rampant, both for, as a non-resident, I can say from non-residents who come over here and be like, well, this should just be available to us. But then on the flip side, I mean, from the residents, some of that same thing. It's like, well, this should be because it should be. Like, I'm just owed this. But it's not always the case. And, there are tax dollars. And there's funds that are going places, but we still have to contribute something to this.
Oh, yeah, this is a goal that we can set for ourselves. The duck hunting community can set for ourselves, and we can achieve it easily. Yeah. We just need to get on board, and all of us agree, like, oh, yeah, this makes sense. Let's do this. This is the right thing to do. Let's all do the right thing here. Yeah. And not let ourselves get divided between residents and non-residents. And, I run a 4-stroke, or you run a Mega, or you run a mud motor. Oh, how dare you run a mud motor? That's, let's not go down that road. Yeah. And get all divided. What we need to do is come together right now. And there's not an organization that represents the public land duck hunter. All of us, from residents to non-residents to, I don't care what kind of camo you wear or what kind of boat you run. Yeah. Like, we are our own community. And in some ways, we are very well served by the larger organizations like DU and Delta. They all have our best interests in mind, but they don't speak to us directly, right? There's nothing that really represents us and the issues that we're seeing out there. And so we want to create that. So that's what we tried to do here. Public Timber Project is a legal binding corporate nonprofit filed with the state of Arkansas. We've got legal representation, a law firm in Little Rock that represents us. We've got an accountant. We've got a bank account. I'm not ashamed to tell everybody exactly how much money our little poor nonprofit has in it. I think we've got just under $2,000 in there. And those are all contributions that the founding members put in themselves with money out of their pocket. Those funds go right now just to pay for trash bags and hats and stickers and just stuff to try to support our little cause, our little movement. We're not looking for big donations right now. I mean, when we start talking about porta potties and dumpsters and stuff like that, then we can, that's a different discussion. But we're not out for money. We're not out for fame. But we did try to set ourselves up initially to be a legitimate organization so we could turn into a real, legit, legal voice to represent public land duck hunters. And how we get there, that's the other question. Like, how do we actually bring all of us together?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I think that's a real good point, though, just to make, like, for those folks out there, this is not necessarily just a random Instagram account that, like, popped up.
Well, it kind of is right now because I don't know anything about social media.
I'm just saying, there's some back end stuff like associated with this. Like, this is a legitimate nonprofit that's established. Like I said, registered with the state. Like, this is not just a concept, but there's some things in motion here.
Right, which means that if we can all come together on some simple things like let's pick up the boat ramp, let's pick up our holes. I mean, the problem isn't just in the boat ramp. You start getting out in the woods and the garbage that we leave in the woods. And anyone who thinks that we as duck hunters don't leave garbage and trash out in the woods, then they don't scout holes.
Yeah.
Because this is how you find new holes in Arkansas. Like newsflash, how do you figure out where exactly those guys were standing when you heard them shooting this morning?
Where are the shooting trees?
Well, you go over there and you look for Little Debbie wrappers, holes floating in the water, and an empty chew can wedged in the notch of a tree. That's how you find. I mean, am I wrong, guys? Like, am I pretty spot on here, right? Mm-hmm. You like literally looking for garbage is like the number one scouting tactic that people use to figure out where somebody's secret hole is the garbage we leave out in the woods, right? So if we could get all that, start to pick all that stuff up, clean up our holes, clean up the boat ramp, manage our garbage at the boat ramps, manage our my wife calls them bio breaks, but how do we go into the restroom when we're spending the night? Like, let's start being proactive. Then what could we tackle next? Yeah. We get everybody on the same page with that, then boy, sky's the limit. Let's go after the low hanging fruit, and then let's start diving into some bigger issues.
Yeah.
And how cool would it be when the AGFC is having a public meeting, instead of there being 1,000 rednecks all raising their hands with a complaint, there was one speaker with their hand up that represented 1,000 rednecks. It's a completely different mindset on how we tackle issues in this state of, do you want, what's more effective? Here's the question to everybody listening. What do you think is more effective? 1,000 folks writing a letter to AGFC, or one letter sent to AGFC by a law firm in Little Rock with thousands of signatures on it? What's the better tool to help push things that we really see, that we want to see change on public land in this state? What's the more effective tool, right? I know what works in every other state in the U.S. Like this works. This is how we fixed problems with water issues on our trout rivers out west. Like, we got organized. Fishermen got organized. Like, how did we tackle issues with over-hunting pressure and the elk populations in the mountains, and the locals didn't have elk to shoot anymore? They got organized. They organized themselves, They stopped being 1,000 different voices. They became one voice with one purpose, and people start listening then.
Yeah.
We all come together. Suddenly we have political clout in this state. And I think there's a lot between the non-residents and the residents in the state, there's more of us than you think. And if we can find some common ground to come together, we would be a force. We would be a force to be reckoned with. You got to deal with the public land guys, because we actually figured out a way to organize ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's sort of like where we'd love to see this thing go in the end, is if we can show that we can do good things, common sense things at the boat ramp and in the woods, and start to actually organize the regular hunter like me, then what's next? If we come all together, we could start tackling some bigger issues next in years to come. And that's exciting, because that's actually like real change. That's a shift from every duck camp in Arkansas complaining about how things are, and all the duck camps in Arkansas coming together and saying, no, we're gonna solidify as a community, and we're tired of complaining. We're gonna start fixing some things ourselves.
Yeah. I think there's some folks out there listening to this. They're like, well, somebody else is gonna take care of these problems. If I just yell my problem loud enough or say it enough times, like somebody's gonna fix it. Like you're talking about trash, like in the shooting holes. We were hunting a NWR today, and like all the land around here that's so subject to rising and falling water, the river gets out. You see trash that just ends up, just from flooding. Old soup cans or whatever. And so I think sometimes there's the mentality of like, well, I mean, others people, they're not picking up their shells or like their holes or like, I mean, there's already trash in the woods. So like, I'll try to pick up some stuff, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Or like, hey, how about you grab that trash too? Like when you see it, like it's not going to cost you that much to
Right.
pick up that old soup can or.
Well, there's another part of it too, which is if we want to see real change, which we all do, like we've all got our list of things, and we don't need to get into get all that stuff here
Sure.
today, But everybody's got their list here that hunts public, a long list, a laundry list of all their complaints.
Sure.
Right. Why isn't things changing? And I think part of it is we're not taking that serious. I mean, I don't think we're taken serious as a community. Like the young kids and the weird old men like me at the boat ramps, as a community, I don't think we're taken serious. Now, our counterparts in other states around the country with similar issues, when they've organized, they've rebranded themselves in a way where they're forced to be taken serious by the state representatives and the state land management agencies because they've organized.
Yeah.
But one of the ways we start forcing Arkansas and the world to take folks like me and all of us right here serious is it's time for us as duck hunters in Arkansas to embrace the leave no trace concept. Like pick it up, pack it in, pack it out.
Yeah.
It's silly that it's 2024 and Arkansas duck hunters are not on board, even defiant at times about leave no trace. This is one of those simple things.
Yeah, that's not hard.
It's not hard. We do it. I mean, how many of us, like, I get a kick out of folks that, they hunt ducks on public, but they also they might go out to Colorado and hunt elk on public too if they draw a tag. And they might go deer hunt out in Oklahoma. A lot of us hunt and fish other places, But when we're duck hunting, man, it's almost like we enjoy throwing the garbage out or something, It's just like we switch gears in our minds, like, no, I'm going to be a little extra outlaw redneck because I'm duck hunting because it's cool or something, right? Like we just turned that one around right there. Like we just suddenly become, no, we're the leave no trace, pack it in, pack it out guys. That kind of puts us in a different category right off the bat, right? Where we're a little bit more legitimate as a group and folks might take us a little bit more serious as a group. So it seems like a good place to start.
Yeah.
Right? Like just an easy one, just a simple one for us all, just to start right there. Let's see that shift happen. And I think it translates, believe it or not, in my mind, my crazy old man mind, it does translate to more ducks. Because like I talked about, like just scouting, like if I don't want you to know exactly where I hunted today and exactly what tree I stood behind, one of the best things I can do is pick up all sign that I was there.
Yeah.
If I leave all my garbage and all my holes and you hear my boat leave my hole and you come in behind me and go, okay, where was that old guy sitting exactly? It's not hard to figure that out. I've just given away,
Yeah.
which in turn creates more pressure on the ducks. So some of these things, like they have an effect on how we pressure our duck populations because there's not a lag time. Like we just, we give information away just way too readily. Right. So.
Yeah, we see that Florida, it's a big deal on all the lakes down there because everybody will throw up cane blinds or palm frond blinds and then leave them.
Right.
So you can just go mid-morning and run the lake. And you're like, well, somebody was hunting ducks there, somebody was hunting ducks there. And you go up and then, you know what, there's a pile of shells. It's like, okay, well, they were shooting ducks here. There's no shells here, so they might have seen some. But,
right.
yeah, this is a real easy thing.
Simple.
Like, you said at the
It's so
beginning,
simple.
this is something the average boat ramp, like public hunter, can do. Whether or not they agree with the mindset of whether or not we should be organized or if they think this makes, like, you can clean up your trash. Like,
You bet.
it's easy.
But that's a movement right there.
Yeah.
We're all picking up our garbage. That's a shift.
Yeah.
That's a shift. That's a shift in the positive direction.
Yeah.
So, that there's a little hope that we can make things better if we can just see a small shift right there. That becomes contagious too. You come and join us at a boat ramp cleanup with some of the ones we're going to be advertising here in the future. Like I promise you, if you come and help us for the day, it'll shift your mindset a little bit. You'll, just to see it, just to notice it. And then it'll get you thinking the next time you go hunting. I mean, it's pretty hard to be lazy about picking up your holes when you just spent 5 hours on Saturday cleaning up,
Yeah.
It shifts you just mature a little bit.
Yeah.
Grow just a little bit,
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, you're more aware of those things. Or if your buddy drops a Pop-Tart wrapper at the boat ramp, like
Pick it up.
you're more likely to pick it up if you just come out on a Saturday and you just spent 5 hours cleaning up, like that matters a little bit more to you.
Right.
If it's just amongst the other Pop-Tart wrappers.
Right.
Like,
And if we can do that, then we can start having bigger conversations about the kind of the old standby complaints on public land. Like you said earlier, like a lot of people think that public land hunting sucks. Of course, I would disagree wholeheartedly.
Same.
I think it's amazing. But yeah, we do have some issues. But how do we create a shift so that people can actually take things serious, like, first come, first served with the holes, shooting at each other's swing birds, and treetop and ducks when they're not really committing, and just the overall impact that has on everyone else's experience and on the ducks.
Shooting the scout bird.
Shooting the scout bird, which is a big, huge thing you're hearing a lot of guys talking about now. A lot of these like young crews are saying, you got to shoot the scout bird. You got to shoot the lead birds. And like, I don't know where that came from. That's not old. That's not old Arkansas duck knowledge. That's not the way the old guys taught us to do things. But how do you make all this stuff enticing to the young duck hunters at the boat ramp that are maybe guilty of some of these issues because they don't know better, and they're not going to listen to me, But if we can start with the garbage, then maybe it could lead to something bigger.
Yeah.
Bigger discussions.
And to circle back, to what each was saying about the picking up the holes and, that leading to more birds or whatever. I mean, it's the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. As stupid as it sounds, picking up your trash, or us, driving a couple hours to go pick up trash on a Saturday of a split, in each's heart of hearts and in my heart of hearts, I know that, that makes a difference.
Yeah.
So just little things that we can try to do to make it somewhat better.
And even if somebody can't, I can't see how you disagree with picking up your garbage. Like, listen, like you're making a difference on your experience at the boat ramp. Like, even if you're
also I'll throw this out there. This is going to be like the grossest Rolling Thunder podcast ever. We're sitting up here and I'm talking about poop. Like, people are tuning off right now, I'm sure. But just think about if you got a dog and you get to the boat ramp, this is what I do. And you tell me if you're like me. I put my boat in. I pull my boat off the side. I hump by myself a lot. So then I go park my truck and I let my dog out, right? Or maybe you let your dog out first, but you let your dog out.
Sure.
And my dog, if it's like yours.
All four of them.
Yeah, all four of my dogs.
Yeah.
They're going to run off in the woods, and they're going to poop and pee and do their thing, and then I'm going to whistle, and they're going to come run up to me and get in the boat. And I'm going to take off, and my dog's probably going to come up to me and probably try to lick my face, and I'm going to want to pet him. Get out and walk around these boat ramps where the garbage is at and take a look at how much we're pooping in the woods. And I swear to you, once you get eyes on that, like get out in the woods. There's always that brush layer right next to the parking lot. Like get out 15 yards behind there.
Yeah.
You'll never let your dog out of your sight again at the boat ramp. I swear to you.
White flags
It will
everywhere.
terrify you. You'll be like, no, your dog will heel right by you. Like, no, you can poop once we get out where we're hunting. I don't want you out of my sight here. Because your dogs. Your dog's going to go rifle through all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's just gross, man.
Yeah.
That's every boat ramp in Arkansas. And if there's 100 trucks spending the night at a boat ramp, start doing the math. We're talking gallons of duck hunter poop. Like, just think about it. It's gross. That's a simple thing for us to fix. It's simple, right? And if we can fix that, then, boy, let's just keep that ball rolling. What's the next thing that we can all agree on? Let's stay away from the things that are going to divide us.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into a mud motor versus two-stroke discussion. Like, hey, we're all going to have our opinions, but what are the things we can all agree on?
Yeah.
We can all agree on a lot of things. Let's go tackle all those things. All of us, public land hunters, let's go tackle all those things and see where we're at. Stop there and reassess. See what kind of difference and impact we can make on this state. If we could have porta potties and trash disposal at the busiest public land boat ramps next year, and we ourselves could manage that problem, where would that position us politically with the state of Arkansas?
Shines a big light.
They would know who we are. They would want our opinion on issues. They would take us serious when we showed up. Just by doing that one act alone, we would show that we're serious. We care about these places, and we're going to show you we care about these places. So that's the concept. Now, how we get there, boy, we need a lot of support. We need a lot of folks to think that we're not crazy, for one.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change the approach to what we've been doing. You know, we've all been griping and complaining or making ugly posts on Facebook, and you know, we're just trying to change that approach to try to, like he says, you know, one voice. So
Yeah.
All right, so somebody's out there listening right now, and this podcast has successfully swayed their mind, and they say, you know what, like, I want to be a part of making a difference here.
Right.
What's their next step? How do they get involved?
So a couple things. One, check us out on Instagram. We're just starting to launch all of our other social media platforms, and I'll hand it over to you to talk more about this. But follow us. Send me a message. Send us a message on there. Let us know who you are and where you're at. The real simple thing is send us in a picture or a video of you cleaning up garbage at your boat ramp when you get done hunting. Take 20 minutes when you're done hunting and just pick up the garbage immediately around where you're parked. Send it to us. I'll send you a hat, stickers. We've got beer koozies. We've got even glow-in-the-dark Public Timber Project gibbets for your Crocs.
Look at that.
I mean, how cool is that,
Yeah.
man? But we came up with some fun prizes that we'll mail out to you for free. None of it's for sale. Like, you need to pitch in and do your part where you're hunting, picking things up, and trying to be a positive role model out there, and we'll send you some stuff. That's one thing you can do. We'll give you an email. Maybe we could even list it under this podcast.
Yep.
It's the Public Timber Project at gmail.com. And I'm not afraid to give folks my personal phone number, and you can call me directly. If I'm at duck camp, I can't take phone calls, but I can get texts. And it's each Stewart. My phone number is 501-530-5355. That's my personal cell I just gave to the internet. But give me a call. Tell me your ideas.
Yeah.
Tell me where you hunt and what issues you've got. You know, one of the things is there's so many different areas in the state of Arkansas that people are loyal to. Everyone's got their little areas that they love to hunt, and it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. Everybody's got their own problems. You know, the Dave Donaldson folks, they've got issues that are unique to them that they're struggling with. The Cache River folks, they've got issues that are unique to the Cache River.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our own problems here. There's some universal stuff that I think everybody's seeing across the state, but definitely, you know, we want to know what's going on in specific areas around the state. But that's how you need to get involved. Just follow us, write in, send us letters, send us pictures, send us videos. Tell us your stories. Start making a difference where you're at. And if you want to do more than that, reach out to us directly, and let us know, and we can go from there. You know, maybe you're hunting a place that was not even on my radar that is super trashed. You know, maybe it's more involved. Maybe it's not just garbage to the boat ramp. Maybe we need to do a river run and like pull some old tires and some old junk out of the river someplace and get it looking good. You know, that's all things we could organize.
Heck yeah.
Yep. And we want to hear, like, we want you to send us messages on Instagram or whatever. Send us emails, you know, so it's not just it's not just me, it's not just the other people that are involved in this. Like, we're all one team.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's not about, you know, none of us are trying to get, like I think I told you, we got a little bank account with under $2,000 in it. So I'm going to get rich and famous
a
off
secret
this
of get
thing.
rich.
And you don't want me to
get
get on,
rich scheme.
you don't want my face on television anyways. You know, I don't want to become some duck hunting personality celebrity. None of us do, you know.
You're on a podcast.
Yeah, I'm on a podcast for good reason.
Yeah.
But there's thousands of guys and gals like me out there at the boat ramp, just regular public land duck hunters, and that's who we want to speak to. It's not the folks that are. Well, it's everybody.
Yeah.
It's everybody. It's the whole community. But this definitely isn't about notoriety and fame for fame's sake. We just need as much following and as much support as we can, because we get enough followers and enough supporters, then we can start going to corporate partners and looking for funds to actually pay for some big changes that we need around here. And that's, you know, some of the big hopes we have for next year. Next year, we really want to see things shift from cleanups to, you know, what's better than doing a cleanup at your boat ramp? Not having to do a cleanup because there's a porta potty and a trash can.
Some infrastructure.
Right? And now we're doing it ourselves, you know. So that's where we want to see this thing evolve to. And then from there, boy, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Now we can start tackling. Then we can start going down the list from the low-hanging fruit to, hey, where do we stand as a community on, you name it. Pick your topic, you know. non-resident days in the state, or the way we're managing water on certain places, or the kind of watercraft that we're using, and boat regulations, or motorized decoys in the state, which we've just re-legalized on WMAs. Where do we sit with that? Like, who was the group that gave the feedback to the AGFC? Does it truly represent your average public land duck hunter or not?
Yeah.
How can we move forward and actually be a voice with the state that represents us? The common everyday man who's out there on public land. Like, what are everybody's perspectives? And it's not going to be my perspective. If it was up to me, I've got all kinds of opinions on things, but it's not really about my personal thoughts on all this stuff. But it's hearing from everybody who's out there actually hunting public land every day. Like, where do we all fall on these issues? What's the group consensus among all of us? What can we agree on? If we can agree on stuff, then we can get organized and we can push for it. And if we can't agree on things, maybe there's a productive discussion that we can have about that. Not to beat a dead horse, but mud motors versus everything
Outboard.
else.
Yeah, sure.
Outboards. Like, rather than that being a topic that's dividing the public duck hunting community, what if we had a really productive discussion about pros and cons? Like, that's what we would do with turkey hunting and deer hunting. Like, we would talk about the virtues and benefits of one kind of gear versus another kind of gear, and when would you use this turkey call versus this turkey call, and tactics, and it kind of gets into that realm, I think, more than anything. If we could shift the conversation to, hey, what's the best tool for the job on any given day on specific pieces of water, then that's a way more productive conversation if we're leading it than us reacting to whether or not the state is going to restrict surface drive motors, right? Yeah. It's a different conversation. We're in the driver's seat. Like, we can be in the driver's seat with these discussions and go, well, where does this fall with us? Because we've got supporters right now already that, I run a 4-stroke, you run a Mega. We've got guys that showed up for one of the last cleanups with mud motors in the back of their boats. That's cool. Like, we all hunt public land. But we can drive discussions about these things ourselves that I think are a lot more productive than just sitting back and throwing hate at the state because they may or may not regulate it.
Yeah.
How
but
to
someone's got
properly.
How to do
scout.
it. But someone's got to start that conversation.
Yeah.
For our own benefit. So hopefully we can do that.
No, that's awesome.
That makes sense.
I think so. I think it makes some sense.
That's what we think too.
Yeah.
We think this is sounding like, hey, this is sort of like some common sense stuff. I don't think we've tried this yet in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Like, we've tried a lot of things to change things for the better, but I don't think this has been tried yet. Like, let's start a nonprofit, organize public land duck hunters, figure a bunch of common ground that we can all agree upon, and let's solidify, see what happens if we could have one voice. How cool would that be?
Cool.
We might start kicking some butt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the concept here.
I love it. I think it's super cool. Any cleanups planned for the rest of the 24-25 duck season?
Boy, we've got a bunch. We're probably looking at doing one every couple weeks, so we're probably looking at doing one this next week. I don't know if we have a place in mind yet. I would love to hear from any of the listeners if there's a spot in particular that is particularly disgusting that we could help out at. We would love to come down there and pitch in and help. We did 3 boat ramps last weekend at Dave Donaldson, and it was needed. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of trash there. But yeah, folks, let us know where we should go next. Mm-hmm. We would like to obviously hit all the real high use areas. Yeah. So there's the the usual suspects there. We need to go down around Stuttgart and Bamida, and we probably need to do some more cleanups around the cache, and probably should hit up Dagmar and the Lower White and all that Bell Bumper stuff. Some of those places get hammered really hard. So we're looking at those places, but we also want to go hit the little bitty out of the way places that maybe don't get as much publicity, but they're getting trashed.
Yeah.
And I know that alone, like that, just that concept right there is that's gonna aggravate some guys in this state that we're even mentioning some of these places. Mm-hmm. Like, if you talk about it, I think there's this mindset in Arkansas, like, if you just don't talk about it,
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist,
Yeah.
right? Like, just don't talk about it. Just don't tell anybody where you're hunting. And I'm definitely that way. I did a cleanup this last week and posted on Instagram. I didn't tell everybody where I was at because I was planning on going there and hunting the next day, and I didn't want to come to the boat ramp the next day and see a whole flock of folks. But some places are trashed enough that, like, we need to talk about it. We need to get a bunch of folks out there and clean them up because they're not going to clean themselves.
Yeah, kind of like I was saying about the, teaching people how to scout properly. I mean, you're not giving up any secrets, okay? What you're doing is you're teaching people to not bust rafts of ducks and, how to get through the woods effectively without, running your motor at 10:30 or 11.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that'd be beneficial to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the early criticisms we got from some folks that they're the kind of supporters we actually need. And it's some of the grumpy local boys that are like, don't talk about it. If you just don't talk about it then no one will know where we're hunting and what we're doing. And I think we're past that point. Like, the problems we're seeing out there now are past the point where we can just keep quiet and not talk about it. They're not going to fix themselves. Just the sheer numbers that we saw this opener across the state of Arkansas. I mean, there's always been a lot of use on public land. That's nothing new. You go back 40 years, and there were huge lines of folks, at the boat ramp here in Arkansas. So that's not new. But the numbers we saw this year were really high. I mean, the numbers of Dave Donaldson this year, that is a lot of duck hunters. They're having a really huge impact. Are we having a positive impact or a negative impact on that area?
We can get off in the weeds of some of these other issues and problems. But what we can say is there's some really simple ways that all of us can get on board with starting to make a difference and taking better care of these places that we love.
Right. We just our idea is that let's let it start right at the boat ramp.
Yep.
That's where our hunts begin and end anyways. So let's clean up our side of the fence right there and let's see where it goes. It might go someplace pretty cool. If we can all come together on that. Who knows what we could accomplish in years to come if we all got on one page. Could be pretty neat.
Yeah, for sure.
What did we miss?
I think we got it.
Well, heck yeah.
Cool.
I think it was good. Thanks for carving out some time to come sit and let me sit at the camp for a little while.
Thanks for having us. We're not duck hunting celebrities. We're not experts. We're just dedicated public land guys. Like there's thousands more of us out there that are just trying to do the right thing. We're not trying to virtue signal or be righteous or, experts or anything like that. But we need other folks' input and their perspectives for this to turn into something better too. So let us know whatever we can be doing to help out different places. We'll figure it out.
Yep. That's the biggest thing. Reach out.
Yeah. So if you haven't already, make sure to go follow the Public Timber Project over on Instagram. Like I said, they've got some more cleanup projects lined up in the works. So if you've got a boat ramp near you that needs some TLC and some attention, make sure to send them a message and make sure they know about it. And let's start working together to make a little bit of a difference.
I try to make some biscuits and bad coffee at the cleanups too, so we'll feed you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Listen, you ain't got nothing to lose.
There'll be dogs, biscuits, and bad coffee.
Boom.
So if that's not enough,
if that doesn't win a duck, if that doesn't win a duck
come
hunter,
on, man.
Yeah.
Get up on a Saturday morning and come help us. And we'll definitely be looking. Our cleanups up to this point have been kind of early mornings, and I know that's tough for somebody to get up at 8 o'clock on a Saturday when it's not duck season. But moving forward, they'll probably be focused more around that noon time. Try to capture guys getting back out of the woods, guys and gals getting back out of the woods. So the next one will probably be around that noon time at a boat ramp someplace when we can't be hunting anymore. And, that way we can all get a morning hunt in someplace.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But thanks for having us so much, driving on and meeting us here and coming to our camp. And it's super cool. Appreciate it. We need all the help we can get.
Thank you. Glad to do it. Thanks for what you guys are doing. And hey, to all our listeners out there, thanks for sticking with us. And as always, we will catch you on the next one.
Join the team that is making a real difference. Ducks Unlimited is powered by people like you. With your help, we can continue to raise funds that drive wetlands conservation across the continent. Whether you are out selling event tickets, securing donations, or finding that next sponsor, we have a role for everyone. Sign up today to join your local DU chapter at ducks.org/volunteer or attend your local DU event. Ducks Unlimited, conservation for a continent.